Yo, welcome back to the Poolside podcast. Today I'm here with Loza to talk about the impact of self-will in addiction. What are you saying, Loza?
Hey, thanks, Moz, for having me on the show. Like, it's an honour.
Yeah.
It's a really honour.
Yeah.
Like, I think people have such misconceptions about addiction. Like, myself, I've been in recovery for like 6.5 months now.
Oh, trust.
Yeah, it's changed my life. But self-will, it did some pretty bad stuff to me, like some deep, dark stuff.
Yeah, I relate to that, yeah. Alright, let's get into it then. So, Loza, what exactly does it mean to exhibit the behaviour of self-will?
All addicts here of any kind, drugs, food, sex, whatever, floats your boat, it can all point that their actions of the past and how they can downward spiral, and it's all linked to the obsessive desire to control themselves and all of the world around them.
Okay.
To define it in a nutshell is to live in a life driven by self-will with no thought for anybody else.
Okay, so then an alcoholic or addict is an example of self-willful behaviours, but really it's the mindset that drives this spiral.
Yeah, exactly. And the dangers are the disconnect between the mind and reality. So what is drugs? They're mind altering substances. So in the addict trying to escape from reality, self-will is what happens when the two are out of sync and the person won't see it or change those behaviours because of the mind.
So I did obviously a bit of my own research on that. So turns out, self-will don't just manifest for addicts, it manifests in all aspects of life, but it's very true for addicts, the extra. So in a reality that don't exist in an addict's brain, obsession can come in quite quickly as a way to create this new structure for themselves in their reality that they've made up in their brains. So no matter how many players there are in the game of self-will, the main player is the self, but it's also the biggest loser.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's not just thinking that you know best for you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking everything revolves around you and your needs, which is where the manipulation comes in. I'm thinking you know better for others, but thinking you can actually change the world and control every aspect of your life. That is the danger, and that is what addicts get sucked into, those patterns that become obsessive and addictive within themselves, because addiction is this multifaceted, deep thing. And doing that will keep you stuck in them negative life patterns. It will lead to broken relationships, it will lead to a broken sense of self, low self-esteem, and then it just all perpetuates with wanting to control more and being more willful.
Oh yeah.
It's a mind fuck.
Oh man, that's quite deep, it makes sense now, because inevitably that will lead to relapse. So that is why so many addicts actually end up relapsing.
Yeah, and it's a tragic set of circumstances, but self-will really is a killer.
Yeah,
it really is a killer.
We'll be right back after this quick break.
Just gonna put a little break in there.
Yeah, just a little one. Have you ever wanted a cheese toastie? Was your dinner simply not enough? Then come to Oasis, where Olive will make you the best cheese toastie in town. Olive's Cheese Toasties, sponsor of Poolside Podcast. Welcome back to the Poolside Podcast. I'm still here with Loza and we're still talking about self-will and addiction. Loza, let's go.
Right, so self-will tricks us on that because it disguises itself as motivation. It's what makes you want to go out to work every day and bring home an income? What makes you work out, buy groceries, go and do something for a friend? Thoughts my life, my will, my future, the way I look, anything my way. That is the underlying thinking patterns. Even though it looks like you're doing something good for others, it's about self.
Okay, so then if we're trying to make ourselves unselfish, then that is actually selfish in itself.
Yeah.
You cannot use the problem to solve the problem, just like a sick mind can't heal a sick mind. This is when you have to surrender to something other than yourself, and trust in a higher power with our lives becomes a choice.
Yes. So actually, addicts, all kinds of addicts, no matter what, if it's drugs or if it's food, are introduced to self-will and what it actually is when they enter recovery. And step 1 is about admitting that, like, powerlessness over one's ego and how it acted in self-will and all that. And then in like step 3 is handing over that will, because we know it's too big for us. We will know that it will fuck us up because we've identified it's a problem. So we have to hand it over to a higher power, and then it can become an experience of like spiritual growth. So all the effort that is spent on like trying to control things can be let go of, and then the mind just gets better, and you and your life experience just gets better.
Okay. Yeah. Hey yo, we got a guest up in the studio.
Yo.
Big man Henners has come to visit.
Cameraman Henners,
Yeah.
are you self-willful?
Man, I used to be, yeah. Step 1 and that, I was.
Okay.
And then I got to like step 3 and I turned that shit over.
Oh, say.
Yeah.
Did you feel better now?
Yeah, man, it's like all with my higher power now.
Oh, right, that's sick still.
That's
Yeah.
sick.
Say, thanks for coming.
later.
That's cool,
Hey,
yeah.
can you bring me
Yeah.
coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool,
save. See you later on that.
Yeah, so the patterns become a habit, and then those habits like become into an addiction, and like then people get so scared by the idea of no longer being this way. Like, what will happen if I don't do this? And then that panic and then that anxiety that addiction gives us, it just leads us to feel out of control, and as a response to that we try to control other aspects of our life, you see. And like, once you just recognize that behavior, you're able to actually swallow your pride, humble yourself, and start the healing process.
So then, like, how do you get this healing when you're so wrapped up in addiction and self-will?
In many ways. It could be like through a 12-step program, like Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, like Anorexics and Bulimics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. There's like an anonymous program. There's SLA, which is Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, which is not actually about sex, by the way, it's about attachment. But anyway,
Okay.
through any 12-step program can help you with that. Going to a rehab, like there's this rehab called Oasis.
I heard of Oasis.
Yeah,
you know? Isn't it in the south of Africa?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So that's where I went.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it banged.
Yeah.
So like you can go to a rehab, but like some people, especially if they're like early intervention, you know, teens and that, you could even go to like a teacher, or if you have got that good relationship, which you probably don't with addiction, but like a parent, or like there's so many online resources now. But anyway you do it, once you recognize that self-will, then soon enough you'll be told that you need to let go of the control. And people are scared of surrendering to something bigger than themselves because of self-will, and they think, I'm gonna lose my identity, I'm gonna lose my life, my desire, all the stuff that is there. But what actually happens is the opposite, and it's pretty amazing. Like, you find freedom like from yourself and for yourself. I know this is deep, but it's true. And like the freedom from like constantly trying to create a life that doesn't really exist, and freedom from like low self-esteem and hating yourself. That freedom finally to create a life that does exist, that is good. So you're not constantly trying to create a life that doesn't exist, because it's never gonna happen, you know, and it's sad. But like, it's freedom from that tension with yourself and from those around you. Yeah, it's a good life.
Okay, so that's like the end of our podcast today. Like, thank you, Loza, for coming on. I really appreciate it. I know the viewers appreciate it too. And if you have been affected by addiction, you can go to poolsidepodcast.co.uk to find information on how to get help.
Because recovery is possible.
That it is. So, we have some closing brainwaves for our listeners to meditate on. How does self-will play out in your life? For example, stubbornness. Like, you want to go Nando's, but you want to go Waggers, and you just won't let up, and it ends in an argument. Hit us up on Twitter with your experience, and we'll be back next week for part 2.
Signals.
See you later.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah.